We're back, and if you're just tuning in, I highly recommend you go back and listen to part 1, because we've already covered a lot. But Sarah, before the break you mentioned something I want to return to, this idea that the Skinwalker isn't just a creature out there in the dark, but something that used to be human, something that chose this path. I keep thinking about that, the idea of choice, that this isn't just some monster in the woods, it's someone who crossed a line.
That's right, and that's part of what makes them so frightening. Most monsters in folklore are cursed, or born that way, or transformed unwillingly. But Skinwalkers aren't victims, they're perpetrators. They chose to turn away from their humanity for power, and that power comes at an enormous cost, spiritually, emotionally, even physically.
Physically, how so?
Well, in some accounts, their bodies become wrong, twisted by the magic. You hear about limbs that bend the wrong way, or skin that looks stretched too tightly, like it's been sewn on. And that's literal in some stories. That they wear animal skins to shift, but others say they don't need the skin anymore, that after enough time, they become the animal.
I think the most disturbing thing about all of this is how often people say they feel something before they see it, like a pressure, a dread.
That's common. It's like the air changes, it gets still, heavy, even sound disappears, birds go quiet, insects stop buzzing, and then something just feels wrong, like the world's holding its breath.
We got an email from a listener in New Mexico. She wrote about how her grandmother used to say, "If the wind changes too fast, don't go outside," and I never understood that until now.
Yes, wind is significant in Navajo tradition. It can carry voices, carry spirits, and a sudden change might mean something is moving through.
Okay, so we've covered what they are, how they move, how they trick. I want to get into something even darker now. Sarah, are there communities of Skinwalkers? I mean, do they operate alone, or is there a coven?
That's a controversial question, and I want to tread carefully because there are real people and communities tied to these beliefs. But yes, some stories talk about Skinwalkers working in groups. Small circles of witches who perform rituals together, who trade knowledge. Some even say there's a whole hidden network in the desert, meeting deep in caves or abandoned places, protected by curses and wards.
So we're not just talking about one-off encounters. We're talking about organized malevolence.
Potentially, yes, and those are the stories people really won't talk about, the stories that end with disappearances, with people who defy the warnings and then aren't seen again.
I can feel the temperature in this studio dropping.
Sometimes, just discussing them seems to stir something. I've had lights flicker during interviews, phones glitching, or recordings go missing entirely. And it's not about technology, it's like the story itself doesn't want to be told.
You mentioned protection earlier. Let's talk about that. If someone thinks they've encountered a Skinwalker, what can they do?
First and foremost, you don't engage, don't speak to it, don't run toward it, don't let it into your space. Spiritual protection involves ash circles, cedar smoke, white sage, prayers from a medicine person, and, most importantly, community. You should never face these things alone.
But that's exactly what they want, isn't it? To isolate you.
Exactly, and they'll do it subtly. Strange dreams, whispers at night, loss of time. They break you down over days or weeks until you doubt your own senses, and then they act.
I want to play a clip. Well, I was going to play a clip from a call-in story, but we lost the file. Actually, the different recordings vanished from our drive.
I'm not surprised. It happens.
It was a woman who described waking up in the middle of the night to find her dog growling at the corner of her room, and then her own voice called the dog from outside, "Come here, boy." She said it was exactly her voice, and the dog didn't move.
That's good, because animals are often the first line of defense. They see through the disguise.
So what do you do if you hear your own voice outside?
You do nothing. You stay inside, you pray, and you wait for daylight.
You said earlier that names have power. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, in many indigenous beliefs, a true name is sacred. It's tied to your soul, and Skinwalkers may use names to control or harm. which is why you'll often hear people use nicknames or titles instead of real names during ritual or when discussing sensitive matters.
And can their names be used against them?
Yes, in theory, knowing a Skinwalker's true identity, their human name, can destroy their power, but that's incredibly dangerous because once you name them, they know you know, and they will try to silence you.
We had someone write in anonymously, said that as a child, he saw his uncle dig something up from behind the house. A bundle wrapped in cloth, chicken bones, feathers, hair, blood. He said his uncle burned it and cried the whole time, and never spoke about it again.
That sounds like a bundle, an object tied to dark rituals, often buried to curse or bind someone. Burning it can break the spell, but it comes with consequences, spiritual ones, psychological ones.
I don't even know how to process this anymore. I came in skeptical, and now I'm checking shadows in the corners of the studio.
That's natural, but remember, fear is not the same as danger. Fear is a warning, not a sentence.
That's profound, Sarah.
It's a lesson I've had to learn the hard way.
We're going to keep going. Everyone, this is just the midpoint of tonight's episode. We'll be back after a short pause, and in the next segment, we're going to talk about some of the most disturbing Skinwalker sightings on record, and the strange link between Skinwalkers and missing persons cases in remote areas.
And I'll also explain why some tribal elders believe the Skinwalkers aren't just spirits, but something ancient, something older than humanity.
Stick around, this is the Unseen Hour, and tonight, we walk the line between what is real and what should never be spoken aloud.